According to a report from South China Morning Post, SCMP, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told the EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas on July 2nd that Beijing did not want to see a Russian loss in Ukraine because it feared the US would shift its whole focus to Beijing. Wang touted the three-year war for keeping the US focused on Ukraine, claiming that if the war were to end, the US would start putting its full attention in the Pacific and could enter into conflict with China. The admission from one of China's top diplomats was not included in China's summary of the meeting. SCMP is Hong Kong's daily newspaper owned by the Alibaba Group. Shortly before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, Beijing and Moscow had signed a no-limits partnership. Wang's response in the meeting in Brussels came after Kallas called on Beijing to immediately cease all material support that sustains Russia's military-industrial complex. Wang denies providing any military support to Russia, but Kallas claimed Chinese companies have given Moscow many of the necessary components needed to build the drones and weapons used in the war. While Beijing wants to keep the Russia-Ukraine war going, US President Donald Trump had repeatedly said he wants to stop the killings, saying 5,000 soldiers a week are dying, and had twice brokered peace deals between the two warring nations. Trump appears unwilling to support Ukraine in the war, as the Pentagon had announced on July 2nd that it was pausing some shipments of weapons to Ukraine while conducting a capability review to ensure military aid aligns with US defense priorities. The US is also shifting its focus to the Indo-Pacific. US defense officials have warned in recent months that Beijing has greatly increased its military capabilities in the Indo-Pacific, including anti-satellite Space Force weapons. The US Defense Secretary arrived at Singapore on May 30th for the Southeast Asian Nations Defense (ASEAN) Summit and told defense ministers that the United States is committed to working with our allies and partners to deter aggression by Communist China in the Indo-Pacific. Beijing has territorial disputes with ASEAN, claiming sovereignty over nearly all the South China Sea, including areas claimed by Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Vietnam. An international arbitral tribunal in The Hague ruled in 2016 that Beijing's sweeping claims had no basis under international law, but Beijing rejected the ruling. Beijing has stepped up military activities and aggression in the South China Sea and Indo-Pacific in recent years. The Philippine authorities made numerous reports of Chinese military vessels firing water cannons and sideswiping their vessels in the South China Sea. Chinese vessels conducted live fire drills in Australia-New Zealand waters in February without prior warnings. Japan and Taiwan have reported Chinese military activities around and in their waters.